everyone, welcome back to embryology sessions. Today's topic is development of portal vein, development of superior vena cava, and we would also see the aortic arch arteries, means the fate of aortic arch arteries. So starting with the development of portal vein. So here is a schematic image where we see the development of portal vein. So portal vein develops from vitelline veins. There are two vitelline veins, right and left vitelline veins, which drains the GIT, that is gastrointestinal tract, and part of the visceral organs. The body wall in the fetal life is drained by cardinal veins, and the other set of veins are the umbilical veins, which drains into the via the umbilical cord into the placenta. So portal vein develops from vitelline veins. There are two vitelline veins, right vitelline vein and left vitelline vein. And in this chart, embryology chart, we can see the development of duodenum. So this is the developing duodenum. So the vitelline veins, right and left vitelline veins, they anastomose at three sides in relation with the duodenum. So there are two ventral anastomoses. So this is the proximal and this is distal. So proximal and distal ventral anastomosis, and in the middle this is the dorsal anastomosis. So ventral anastomosis, there are two proximal and distal ventral anastomosis and one middle dorsal anastomosis. So if you see the image here, the right vitelline vein, the distal part of the right vitelline vein, which is present in the dotted lines, it disappears and disintegrates. And the proximal part of the left vitelline vein also disappears and disintegrates. So let's see the portal vein. Which veins contribute to the formation of portal vein? So portal vein is formed by joining the two tributaries, which are the splenic veins . So here is the splenic vein. So splenic vein joins with the superior mesenteric vein. This is superior mesenteric vein. They joins to form the portal vein. So portal vein is from here to here. So the part which I am shading is the portal vein. Now we can see the portal vein is formed from the proximal part of right vitelline vein and also the middle anastomosis, that is the dorsal anastomosis, forms the portal vein. Whereas the tributaries are the superior mesenteric vein and splenic veins. We can see they join to form the portal vein. And portal vein, when we see near the hepatic bud, this is the developing liver. Hepatic bud develops from the within the septum transversum, and we can see this is the right branch of portal vein and this is the left branch of portal vein. So the left branch communicates directly with the inferior vena cava by ductus venosus. Ductus venosus, in adults it disappears and obliterates completely to form ligamentum venosa. And right branch of the portal vein, it is from the right vitelline vein beyond. Then the left branch is from the proximal ventral anastomosis, forms the left vitelline vein. So that is about the development of portal vein. So we can revise. The portal vein develops from vitelline veins. Right and left vitelline veins are joined by two ventral anastomosis and one middle dorsal anastomosis. Proximal and distal ventral anastomosis are ventral to the duodenum, and dorsal anastomosis is named because it is dorsal to the duodenum. Development of portal vein, we see the final formation of portal vein. So the parts of right and left venous vitelline veins, we saw they get disappear, and the portal vein is formed from the dorsal anastomosis, which is in the middle, and right vitelline vein, to be specific, proximal part of the right vitelline vein, which is between the dorsal and the proximal ventral anastomosis. And superior mesenteric and splenic veins we can see as the tributaries of portal vein. So next here we can see the development of superior vena cava. Superior vena cava develops from the cardinal veins. So there are two anterior and two posterior cardinal veins. So this is the right side. Here is the left side. So we can see the anterior cardinal veins, right anterior cardinal vein, right posterior cardinal vein. Similarly on the left side, this is the left anterior cardinal vein and left posterior cardinal veins. So if you concentrate these two cardinal veins, and we can also see the developing liver here, and this is the sinus venosus, which later forms major part of right atrium, and we can see the hepatic veins draining into the sinus venosus. And these two cardinal veins, that is right and left anterior cardinal veins, if we see, the dotted lines represents the degenerated part, and anterior and posterior on the right, they form a common cardinal vein. So this is the common cardinal vein. This is the right common cardinal vein. Here is the left common cardinal vein. And on the right side, that is the right anterior cardinal vein, which we can say proximal and distal. This is the proximal and this is the distal. Because of this anastomosis, so the anastomosis between the two anterior cardinal veins we can appreciate here. So the proximal part of the right cardinal vein and the right common cardinal vein. So from here till here, it forms superior vena cava. And left cardinal vein, that is the left anterior cardinal vein, we can see the proximal part, this part will disappear and disintegrate completely. Whereas the distal part of the left anterior cardinal vein, it will be remain to form brachiocephalic trunk. And we can see here the posterior cardinal veins both on the right and left, they disappear and disintegrate completely. So if you see the development of superior vena cava, it is formed from the right anterior cardinal vein below the anastomosis, and also it develops from the right common cardinal vein. Left common cardinal vein will form coronary sinus. So this part will form coronary sinus, which is from the left common cardinal vein. Congenital anomalies associated with the development of superior vena cava, instead of right-sided superior vena cava, sometimes the right anterior cardinal vein may disappear and disintegrate just like the left now, and the left side it may remain as a persistent, which is called left-sided superior vena cava. Normally there are no symptoms, so left-sided superior vena cava is asymptomatic condition. Only when any procedure is done or any scanning is done, then only we can find out that there is left-sided superior vena cava. And double superior vena cava, suppose the left side, if it is not disappear and degenerate and there is no anastomosis between the two anterior and anterior cardinal veins, between two right and left anterior cardinal veins, then there is a chance of having two separate right and left superior vena cava. In such conditions, the coronary sinus may get dilated because of more venous pressure from the left superior vena cava too. So these two are the congenital anomalies associated with the development of superior vena cava. So here is the last embryology chart, which is the fate of pharyngeal arch arteries, which are otherwise called as aortic arch arteries. So there are 5 pairs of aortic arch arteries, because out of 6 aortic arch arteries, the 5th one will completely disappear and disintegrate. So remaining 5 arch arteries, we are going to see their fate now. So the first arch artery will form the maxillary artery. So most of it will disappear, only the little part of it will form the maxillary artery. The second arch artery will form the stapedial artery. So remnant of it will form the stapedial artery. So here is the maxillary artery, and this is the stapedial artery. Now about the third arch arteries. So the third arch arteries it forms the proximal part of common carotid artery. So I'll shade this part. This is the proximal part, will form the common carotid artery on both right and left side. Whereas the distal part of the third arch artery will form the internal carotid artery. So here we can see it forms the proximal part of internal carotid artery. Proximal part of internal carotid. And distal part of internal carotid is derived from the dorsal aorta. So the dotted lines are the dorsal aorta on right and left side. So the distal part of it will form is derived from the dorsal aorta. So that is about the third arch arteries on the right and left side. Let's talk about the fourth arch arteries. So the right side, the fourth arch artery gives rise to subclavian artery. So proximal part of the subclavian artery is derived from the fourth arch artery, whereas the distal part of the subclavian artery on the right side is derived from the seventh intersegmental artery. So what I am shading is the seventh intersegmental artery. Let's talk on the left side. Left side it is different. Left side, the fourth arch artery gives rise to arch of aorta. So complete arch of aorta is derived from the left fourth arch artery. Then what about the left subclavian artery? Left subclavian artery is derived from the seventh intersegmental artery. So this part is derived from the seventh intersegmental artery. So that is about the derivatives of fourth arch artery, and we know the fifth arch artery completely disappears and disintegrates, and remaining only sixth arch arteries are there. So sixth arch artery on the right side, it forms the pulmonary trunk, that is the proximal part of the pulmonary trunk. So here we can see it forms the pulmonary trunk on the right side, whereas distal part, which is shown as the dotted lines, it will disappear and disintegrate. On the left side, the proximal part forms the pulmonary trunk again, that is the left pulmonary trunk, whereas the distal part will form the ductus arteriosus. So this forms the ductus arteriosus, which is the communication between the arch of aorta and the pulmonary trunk. And this ductus arteriosus will form ligamentum arteriosum in adults. So it is a temporary communications during fetal life, and just before birth it obliterates to form ligamentum arteriosum in adults. So this is all about the fate of pharyngeal arch arteries or aortic arch arteries. Thank you.